the American dream with the white picket fence, the buy your primary residence, retire from it, is going to be really hard to achieve in the next few years. And in this video, we're going to go over. So make sure stay to the end because I got some data from the computer and everything else. So it's probably no surprise that everything has risen by an exponential amount. So house prices have risen, and what did that do? Property prices have risen, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The only thing is that there's some variables that just skyrocketed out of control. So if you buy a house just like this one and you put in a mortgage, they cannot increase your mortgage to whatever they want. And so is property taxes. In most states, they'll tell you, hey, we have a cap on residents and non-residents, so we can only increase it, or 3%, I believe. We can only increase it so much every year if you're a primary resident. If you have a second house, I think we can increase it for 8. And this is by law. But guess what? Everything else increased by an exorbitant amount, like insurance. And check this out. In Florida, this is what they have been increasing it to. So it is absolutely crazy. $7,000. It's just absolutely brutal. And now let's look at a realtor talking about exactly this.
At this point, I'm honestly convinced that a lot of homeowners are going to lose their homes in the next couple of years, and here is why. I'm a real estate agent in California, and for the past 3 to 6 months, most of the listing appointments I had were from people that purchased a property within the last 3 years, and now they are forced to sell because they cannot afford to pay the mortgage. Property taxes increased, and also the insurance increased drastically, increasing their monthly payment sometimes by 20-25%. Now, considering that everything is so expensive and the interest rates have been high, a lot of these buyers were forced to go up to their debt-to-income ratio for up to 45 to 50% of their income in order to qualify for their house. And even if their income did not change in a negative way, they're spending so much more money on basic necessities like food, gas, electricity, just day-to-day stuff, that with the increase in their mortgage and their payment, their monthly payment, makes it almost impossible for them to be able to afford keeping that house. I wonder what's happening, but the signs are not good, and I will not be shocked if I see tons of more listings coming on the market just because people can't afford to keep those.
So I'm in Las Vegas right now, and as you see, I've been walking through a job site or a construction site where they're all building these new listing homes. And Cape Coral, Lee County is another place where it's just outlandish construction going on. Just absolutely crazy. And it's just gonna hit the fan at one point where there's so many new construction and these buyers just can't keep up because their salaries have not increased that much. So let's look at some of the data that I got. Here we go. Trouble in Florida's real estate paradise is grim warning for all Americans. Holy macaroni. And look at this. They're building. I'm going to do a 360 view. They're building over here. They're building over here. And they're building over here. So this is just crazy. They're building everywhere. New houses in the millions of dollars. And now we're going to go to the computer and look at some of these listings that they've been talking about, what this realtor's actually been talking about in Lee County. We're at the computer now, so let's check out this listing right here because this is what a lot of people are facing, and it is not pretty. So this is a 3-2, and it's kind of nice. I got to give you that. This is in Lee County. I just like it because it's people talk about it because I feel like it's a trendsetter for what's going to happen in the market. So when I look at all this and I come always down to the listing. So now let's scroll down to where it last sold. Price change, price change, price change. Here we go. Nope, here we go. So it sold in 2023 for $460,000. Then a little later, they probably remodeled it. Looks like somebody was like, hey, let's flip this and put it in, right? So now they listed it for $650. Put some money into it. Then they removed it, listed it for sale, and they did a price change a little bit after. They removed the listing. They listed it back for sale. Did a price change again. They removed the listing. They listed it for sale. Price change, pending sale. And then they listed it for sale again. Fell through, who knows why. Price change, price change, price change, price change, price change, price change, price change. So now
they're back to the original list price, have all this money into it. And now, if you're going to buy this, you'd probably hit him with a gut punch and say, you know what? I'm going to want to pay you less money. You're going to pay for closing costs, my realtor costs, and everything else. And if there's a roof, you want to do something else, then yeah, you want to do that. And just kind of say, hey, you're going to pay for more stuff because it's been on the market forever. So let's look at it. Looks nice on the inside. It looks really, really nice. But this is the reality that people are facing it. And it's not just this county, it is across the United States. So is this a bubble? Is this a bursting? You tell me, but I think it's just back to normality and getting people to pay outlandish prices for their properties just isn't in it in 2025. This is another example of people listing houses for almost what they've purchased them for in 2023. So check this out. This is a super nice house. Looks with a dock, it looks fantastic, but the price doesn't justify it. So now let's scroll down to see where the pricing is. Here we go. Let's go scroll down. Here we go. It was sold in 2023, almost like the other one was sold in 2023 for 630,000. Then, shortly after, they listed it for sale. So maybe they did something or they said, this is not the lifestyle that I want to live. And so they said, let me get some money out of it. Why not? We're in a hot market. And now the price change. Then they do the price changed a few months after for 700. Removed the listing, decreased the price, listed it for sale again, price change, removed it, listed it for sale again. So now you see it's almost the same price as they bought it for. When they bought it here for the 630, all of a sudden, when you're looking at 665, all of a sudden with price changes and the market, he's going to lose money on this because he's going to have to pay up or they have to pay up. And yeah, so there's hundreds of listings just like this where people are underwater, and even though they put money down, they're not going to get the same amount out. So this person will rather take the loss, get out of it so he doesn't have to pay the holding cost. And is this a bubble? Is this something? It's just reality. You name it what you want it. Is it a crash? Is it a correction? Or is it just the stupid money has left the room and reality starts to kick in? You name it, but this is just the reality. Better to compare this to than actually job listings, job markets, and that's kind of where I come in. And let's scroll through these job listings in this area in Cape Coral, Florida to see, can this even support all these high prices? Can this even support it? So I just put in jobs in Cape Coral and it's just coming up from Google. And let's keep on looking. So this is just an average, right? So we have Xfinity, then we have healthcare, Circle K, dishwasher, customer. Then we have radiology, go to specialist, Naples Vapor. Then we have Ulta, sales associate, sales, server, buzzer, host, Sam's Club, maintenance, barista, Longhorn, Lee County, um, patients, host, freight receiver, health, buzzer, beauty, um, caregiver, assistant property manager, retail, crew member, bartender, and the list keeps going on. And so, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually compile this and ask for an average salary price or average hourly rate for all these jobs with AI. And let's continue to walk and kind of see if this is even something doable for most people to own a white picket fence.
So you saw these listings that they've listed for $460,000, and they had to do price decreases and just are back where they listed from. So they're going to lose money on it. And now let's check out the chart that I have here. So if you want to buy a house in that area and you're making 10, 20, $25 an hour, and I got the numbers right here that I've pulled up here. Um, it would require you, just for insurance, you'd have to work so many weeks. Depending on how much you make, you'd have to work about 2 months just to pay the insurance. And the craziest thing is that they're all still doing new construction. It is just going. And one thing, when I look at the supply and demand stuff, it's just that these builders need to build because that's their business model. They just need to keep building. And what does that do? That puts downward pressure on it because they can say, hey, the bank, how many lots do they got? They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lots, and then probably here's another 10. And when you're looking at all these lots, they got to put stuff on it because they have construction crews. They probably purchased the land. They got to do all this. And they go to the bank and say, hey, our people cannot afford to pay 7%. So let's buy down the rate and I bring you so much business. And when they're going to bring you so much business, then the bank's going to say, you know what, we can kind of work a little bit with you and we can do an offer lower rate because we just finance so much with you guys, right? Look at this, construction. All these lots, just construction, construction, construction. Look at that, just construction, construction. I'm going to zoom in all the way where I was over there. As far as you can see, just construction stuff. And they have to do that because they're builders. That's what they got to do. And even though foreclosures haven't really risen, people's equity, people's deposits are being wiped out. And if you had a secondary home like they do in Lee County, Florida, they're going to have to get rid of those because they cannot keep their houses in California and everywhere else. So they say, we got to get rid of them. And it's absolutely tragic to see all this stuff to say, hey, we're going to have to lower prices. Because once you buy a house and you buy the one right there, you want the next one to sell as high as possible. And you don't necessarily want new buildings happening right next to you because then your house prices will go up if there's not enough and there's not enough supply, then but a lot of demand, the price goes up. So as you can see, crazy construction, like literally everywhere. And they're going to have these properties in the $1 to $2 million listings. I think those are going to be like $1 million plus. And it's just, who can afford these in today's world where everything is just so expensive? Let me show you. This is going to be another road. And it's just as far as the eye can see. Just new construction, new construction. But these builders got to put them in because that's what they're in it for. So when you're looking at people that bought their houses during COVID and they're losing money now, foreclosures might not increase that much because people just say, I'm just going to lose my equity. I'm just glad to get rid of it and I just keep my own primary residence. But everything else, I lose some money and I'm still good. Because it's really hard to get the data from how many short sales that the bank said will take less money. At least we write this off. At least we can get this off of our books, this loan, and get out of it. So it's really hard. I did an AI search. I kind of looked into it, and it's really hard to come up about that data, especially for in 2025, where everything just lags and we can't get it. So now I'm asking you, would you buy in this area? And if so, why would you buy when you can rent and don't have to worry about any maintenance or any builder issues? But they're cranking them out like crazy. And now you're like, holy smokes, they're building everywhere. And what is that going to do? That means that supply of new housing is going to go all the way up. And the supply of existing homes that are on the market, there's a chart right here, is going to be very skewed because they're building them like crazy. And so at one point it is like now, it's more expensive to actually buy a used one than it is a new one. First time ever. But not everything is going to be so great once it all kind of settles in and once Americans are starting to, like I said, lose their jobs. They have to sell their second houses, the car repos, everything else. It just adds fuel to the fire and people cannot afford these highlandish prices that they thought that they can get during COVID. And you name it, it's going to happen. Like for correction, bubble, and everything else. Because at one point, when Jimmy John lists his house right there and you're right next to it and you want to list your house too, and it's exactly the same, who's you're going to go with? Well, who's ever going to give me better conditions? And then what happens? Price down, price down, price down, price down. It's going to be raced to the bottom. How much can you lose? And that's just what's going to happen. Because you now, as the buyer, have one job and one job only, to protect your downside. And when you buy one of these places right here, brand new construction, brand new construction, why would you pick this one over this one? Probably price in a little bit of the, oh, I want this granite countertop, or I want this. But all of them are still available. Most of these you can purchase. And there's ones on this off the street that you drive around here that says, come, move in today, special move in, all this other stuff that they're trying to get you in. Get an interest in the 5%, so they'll pay to get you into that percentage. And I'm telling you, it is so important that you, as a now home buyer, and I think it's about 20% millennials are going to get into the housing market, that you protect your downside. Because if you need to move in 2 years and the housing markets keep going down, you lost your deposit. You lost so much money on it. So be aware of what market you buy. Not every market's the same, but you got to make sure that, hey, when I buy it right and I get a good deal. Because listings will come up. New home prices, new homes will come on. As you're seeing, it's just brutal. And there's some markets, I know I'm going to get comments that say, it's not in my market, not in my market. Well, congratulations, you can get a cookie. But besides everybody else that's in a market like Vegas, Lee County, Florida in general, it's just brutal to see it. And they keep building them. They keep building them because that's their job. And they're just cranking them out. So let this be a lesson to you. Always do your research and not just take one person's opinion and say, you know what, I'm going to run with it. Check your market, check the inventory, look at a bunch of listings, see how many times they decrease the price. How many times did they decrease, did they relist the listing? Just because it says it's been listed since 3 days doesn't mean that they've taken it off, put it back on, take it off, put it back on. And probably mortgage rates had something to do with it, that it was low mortgage rates. But now we're seeing that the music is stopping. People are losing jobs. People can't afford it. Insurance through the roof. And now you tell me, with all this information, is it still a good time to buy? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't, please like and subscribe. That would really help the channel out. And yeah, this was it from crazy town of Las Vegas, where builders are building like crazy. And thanks for being in my morning walk with me.